Welcome to Lives of Light, Little Saints. Today we celebrate Saint Rose of Lima, whose feast day is August 23rd. She was born in Peru and became the first person born in the Americas to be canonized a saint. She loved Jesus deeply, cared for the poor and sick, and spent much of her life in prayer. Let's discover her beautiful story. Long ago, in 1586, a little girl was born in the city of Lima in Peru. Her parents named her Isabel Flores de Oliva. She was one of 13 children in her family. Isabel grew up in a Catholic household, and from an early age, she developed a deep love for Jesus and the Blessed Virgin Mary. There was something unusual about this little girl. People noticed that she was very beautiful. Her mother and others around her began calling her Rosa, meaning rose, because of her beauty. The name stayed with her. Later, when she received the sacrament of confirmation, the name Rose became the name by which she would be known. As Rose grew older, she wanted to give her whole life to God. She admired another Dominican saint very much, Saint Catherine of Siena. Like Catherine, Rose wanted to live a life completely devoted to Christ. But Rose's family had plans for her. They hoped she would marry. Rose, however, wanted to remain unmarried and dedicate herself to God. She did not become a cloistered nun. Instead, at about 20 years old, she joined the Third Order of St. Dominic. The Vatican describes her as following St. Catherine of Siena as a model and wearing the habit of the Dominican Third Order. Rose continued living with her family. She worked hard to help support them. She worked in the garden. She embroidered and sewed beautiful things. She sold her work to help provide for her family. Her family eventually experienced serious financial difficulties after her father's business failed. Rose knew what it meant to live with less. But something beautiful happened. Instead of becoming focused on her own problems, Rose began thinking about people who had even less than she did. She noticed poor people. She noticed sick people. She noticed children who had no one to care for them, and she wanted to help. So Rose turned part of her family's home into a place where people in need could receive care. She especially helped children, elderly people, and people who were sick or abandoned. She did not simply pray for suffering people from a distance. She served them. She cared for them. She treated them with dignity. For Rose, helping someone who was suffering was another way of showing love to Jesus. Her life was also filled with prayer. She built a small hermitage, or little prayer room, in her family's garden. It was a very simple place. There she spent many hours praying. She wanted to be alone with God. She prayed especially for sinners and for the people of Peru. She also had a profound devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary. Rose loved Mary as her spiritual mother and frequently turned to her in prayer. The Vatican describes this deep devotion to Mary as an important part of her spiritual life. According to the traditional account of her life, one day Rose was praying before an image of the Virgin Mary holding the child Jesus. She heard Jesus speak to her heart, "Rose, dedicate all your love to me." Rose responded by giving herself even more completely to Christ. Her prayer life became very deep. She desired to unite her suffering with the passion of Jesus and to pray for the salvation of others. However, this part of Rose's life needs to be explained carefully to children. Historical accounts describe severe forms of penance and bodily mortification that she practiced. We do not need to describe those practices in detail in a children's story. The important lesson is that Rose was trying to express her complete love for Christ and her concern for people who were suffering. Her life was not about hurting herself. It was about love, prayer, sacrifice, and compassion. Rose also cared deeply about the indigenous people of Peru. She prayed for their dignity and for their evangelization. She wanted people to know the love of Christ. her life became a quiet witness in Lima. She was not a queen. She was not a famous politician. She did not command armies. She did not have great wealth. She was simply a young woman who loved God deeply and served people who needed help. And people began noticing her holiness. As word spread about Rose, many people came to speak with her. She became known for her wisdom, prayer, and compassion. There were also reports of miraculous events and mystical experiences connected with her life. When Rose became seriously ill, she stayed with a family friend named Gonzalo de la Maza. Her health continued to decline. On the night of August 23, 1617, Rose renewed her religious commitment and repeatedly expressed her desire to remain with Jesus. She died at only 31 years old. News of her death spread quickly. A huge crowd gathered for her funeral. People had already come to believe that this young woman had lived a life of extraordinary holiness. Rose was beatified by Pope Clement IX in 1668. 3 years later, in 1671, Pope Clement X canonized her. She became the first person born in the Americas to be canonized by the Catholic Church. Her story spread throughout the Americas and beyond. Today, Saint Rose of Lima is a principal patroness of Peru, the Americas, the Philippines, and the West Indies. And her story still speaks to us. Rose shows us that holiness does not require a person to be rich, famous, or powerful. She lived in a small home. She worked with her hands. She cared for people who were suffering. She prayed. She loved Jesus. And she gave what she had. Her life reminds us, a heart filled with God's love can become a light for many people. Reflection. Saint Rose teaches us that we can serve God wherever we are. Rose did not leave her family and travel around the world. She lived in her own home. She worked in the garden. She sewed. She prayed. And she helped people who were suffering. Sometimes we think we have to do something enormous to make a difference, but that's not true. You can help someone today. You can share something. You can comfort someone who is sad. You can visit someone who is lonely. You can help an elderly person. You can be kind to someone who is being left out. You can pray for someone who is sick. You can do your chores without complaining. These things may seem small, but when we do them with love, they become precious to God. Saint Rose also teaches us that beauty is more than what people see on the outside. People noticed Rose's physical beauty and called her Rose. But the beauty that made her a saint was the love in her heart. So ask yourself, how can I make my heart more beautiful today? Not with clothes, not with makeup, not with popularity, but with kindness, patience, generosity, forgiveness, and love for God. Prayer. Dear Saint Rose of Lima, you loved Jesus with your whole heart. Teach me to love him too. Help me notice people who are lonely, poor, sick, or in need. Give me a generous heart that is willing to help. Teach me to pray when I am worried. Teach me to be patient when life is difficult. That true beauty comes from a heart filled with love. Saint Rose of Lima, pray for me, my family, and all people who are suffering. Help us become lights for those around us. Amen. Remember, little saints, you don't have to be rich or famous to make a difference. A kind heart can become a light. A helping hand can become a blessing, and a small act of love can bring hope to someone who needs it. Like Saint Rose of Lima, let us give our hearts to Jesus and let his love shine through everything we do. See you next time on Lives of Light.